In this short video, I want to review with you some of the most overlooked symptoms of low stomach acid, also known as hypochlorhydria, as well as get into some of the risk factors and those who are at greatest risk for developing this low stomach acid. Hi there, I'm Dr. Hagmeyer, and I'm the clinic director here at drhagmeyer.com, where we have the opportunity to help people from all over the world overcome chronic health issues like low stomach acid. You see, hydrochloric acid helps your body break down food. It helps digest food. It helps absorb nutrients, things like proteins and fats. It also helps eliminate bacteria and viruses that are in the stomach, as well as protecting your body from different kinds of infections. But left untreated, hypochlorhydria can cause damage to the gastrointestinal system, causing all kinds of infections and a number of chronic health issues. Today's video is super important because many people have all the signs of low stomach acid, yet they fail to recognize them. And so I'm hoping that in this video series, we can provide you with some of the answers and really offer you some insight into why you or a loved one is not getting better and get you on a better path for healing. So let's jump into this and really take a look at just some of the most common symptoms of low stomach acid, as well as some of the most overlooked symptoms of low stomach acid as well. So number one is heartburn. You see, most people that suffer and struggle with heartburn and bloating and a lot of these other upset stomach issues assume that the cause of these symptoms is really too much acid. But in fact, many times it's just the opposite. It's too little. And this is why I felt it was so important for me to put this video series together. You see, drugs for acid reflux and GERD are really the cash cows for pharmaceutical companies. You know, more than 60 million prescriptions for GERD were actually filled out last year. And Americans spend more than $13 billion on these acid-stopping medications alone last year. And these numbers just keep going up and up and up. Millions of people take these acid-blocking pills and these proton pump inhibitors when they really don't need them. And this is causing damage to the stomach. It's causing damage to the intestines. It's causing osteoporosis. It's causing B12 deficiency. It's causing iron deficiencies. It's causing small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and candida and fungal infections. It's contributing to so many different kinds of health problems that really could be avoided if we address the root cause. And so here's what's really going on with people that suffer and struggle with acid reflux. Remember, your stomach makes hydrochloric acid for a reason, right? If you don't make enough of this hydrochloric acid, then the food that we eat isn't broken down properly. And when food is not broken down properly, in turn, what happens is it increases gas production. And so you walk around feeling like you're constantly passing gas. With every step you take, you're looking over your shoulder. Every time you bend over, you're worried about perhaps having gas come out, right? It increases heartburn. It increases infections. So before you really reach for antacids and those acid-blocking pills, it's just really important to self-check your acid levels. And I'll explain how to do this in another video, but specifically we're looking at things like the HCl challenge test. We're looking at the bicarbonate test. We're looking and talking about things like the apple cider vinegar test. But again, I'll talk about these in another video. And again, I'll leave a link in a description, or rather I'll leave the link in the description box. Now, in over 20 years of practicing and focusing on lifestyle medicine and functional medicine, working with thousands of patients with heartburn and indigestion and bloating, what I found in almost all of them was the fact that many of these symptoms were improved, relieved, and cured when we improved digestion. So when we worked with things like diet and we prescribed things like hydrochloric acid and pepsin, perhaps when we looked at things like food sensitivities and addressed things like leaky gut, worked on dietary changes, all of these things that get to the root cause, we see almost 100% resolution in these symptoms, okay? Symptom number two, really on my list, is trouble digesting meat, right? Many patients that I work with, again, have IBS. And one of the biggest challenges I think I've seen over the last 20 years, and I've encountered this numerous times, is just this unhealthy emotional connection that many people with IBS have with food. And that they struggle with this terribly. And what I mean by that is this. Many people with IBS and SIBO are so quick to eliminate food from their diet due to this association that food created this symptom. So what winds up happening is they stop eating meat because every time they eat meat, perhaps they end up with diarrhea or more bloating or their stomach is upset. They stop eating vegetables and they stop eating fruits. And little by little, what happens is year after year, that person is on a very, very limited diet where they're only eating these so-called safe foods. And at this point now they're losing weight, they're losing muscle tone, their bodies are literally melting away. So instead of focusing on the root cause of why they're having these trouble digesting meats and trouble digesting vegetables, they completely eliminate them. And that's not the solution that you want to focus in on. It's much better to improve your digestion rather than eating only a handful of foods. Also worth mentioning is that very often, because you're not digesting proteins properly, you become deficient in an assortment of amino acids. You become deficient in all kinds of essential fats, omega-3 fats, omega-6 fats. And as a result, you now find yourself, with this dwindling variety within your diet. Now you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling nauseous, your joints are constantly in pain and achy and inflamed. You're experiencing brain fog on a regular basis, and really the list of symptoms just goes on and on and on. So just remember that meat is not the enemy, vegetables aren't the enemy, it's your poor digestion that's the problem. Another very common symptom due to low stomach acid, and number 3 on my list, is of course this gas and bloating after meals. All right? Remember, stomach acid is designed to break down fats, it's designed to break down proteins. And so if you have low stomach acid, then the fats and the proteins will not be properly breaking down. And this leads to, again, gas, it leads to bloating, it leads to acid reflux. And again, many times this gas and bloating is also caused by small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or again, that small intestinal fungal overgrowth that I mentioned in the first video. Now, another symptom that I think is often overlooked, and really not just number 4 on my list, is going to be things like food allergies and food intolerances, right? We see this on a regular basis, right? 80% of people with food allergies and food intolerances will suffer from some degree of low stomach acid production, right? Most food allergies are really actually the result of proteins that are only partially digested. And so when they enter in the bloodstream, they're a potential allergen, right? They become something that inflames the immune system, something that inflames the gut. And once the immune system becomes activated, now you get the release of a variety of different kinds of inflammatory markers. You get a release of histamine in the body. And in some people that are sensitive to histamine or have histamine intolerance, what winds up happening is every time they eat something, perhaps they're noticing that they're having a runny nose, or their eyes are beginning to water, or perhaps they feel fatigued after they eat, or their blood pressure drops. Maybe they get skin itching and diarrhea. Again, these are all signs of again, this histamine intolerance. So very often this is seen in conjunction with something called a leaky gut, all right? Number 5 on my list is a vitamin and mineral deficiency, right? When you look at your blood work over the years, have you heard or does it sound familiar where your doctor has talked to you about having low B12 levels? Or very frequently when you go in to see the doctor and he runs your blood work, your iron levels are low or your vitamin D levels are low. You ever stop to think about why these levels are low on a regular basis, right? Do the terms iron deficiency or iron anemia or microcytic anemia, do those things ring a bell? Does megaloblastic anemia, does that sound familiar to you? Maybe those are terms that your doctor had described to you in the past. And so if you said yes to any of these, consider taking digestive enzymes like betaine and pepsin, because in essence, it's going to help your body absorb nutrients better, right? Not only does low stomach acid affect your B12 levels and your iron levels and your vitamin D levels, again, that low stomach acid also is going to cause things like low levels of zinc and low levels of vitamin C. And again, low calcium and low potassium and low magnesium, maybe low chloride, right? Again, these are the reasons that these deficiencies are so common in people. Again, with low stomach acid, you're not going to be absorbing these vitamins. You're not going to be absorbing these minerals. And so again, if you have this low stomach acid, it's important to rectify that. It's important to improve that, all right? Now, number 6 on my list is skin problems, right? These are going to be things like acne. These are going to be things like psoriasis. These are going to be things like dermatitis, right? These may be things like rosacea. A healthy gut is really one of the keys to healthy hair and beautiful skin. And unfortunately, low stomach acid leads to excessive bacterial and fungal overgrowth. This causes a variety of skin issues, again, including that acne and rosacea. In fact, I've done a video on my YouTube channel, where you can follow, just different research that I posted, and talk about all the different causes behind why people continue to struggle with skin and rosacea, right? And again, this explains why 40% of people with acne have low stomach acid, according to research. All right, so definitely there's a strong correlation there between that low stomach acid and skin conditions. Now, number 7 on my list is undigested food particles in your stool, right? You should never ever see undigested food particles in your stool. This is obvious. This is pretty obvious, right? If you're not properly digesting your food due to low stomach acid, or perhaps maybe food is going through your intestines too quickly, then it only makes sense that you're going to see undigested food in the toilet after a bowel movement. All right. So number 8 on my list of overlooked symptoms of low stomach acid, again, this is going to be things like weak and brittle nails. Right. If you notice that your nails are constantly fraying, constantly breaking on you, this is obviously more common and more prevalent in women, as well as hair loss. But again, these are symptoms that are indicative of vitamins and mineral deficiency. So again, those go back to what we talked about earlier when we talked about the vitamin deficiencies associated with low stomach acid. Now, the most common B vitamins that are implicated in things like hair loss and brittle nails, these are going to be things like folate, which is B9, B12, biotin, folate, if I didn't already mention that one. Again, those are all symptoms of those B vitamins that we often see with low stomach acid. And number 9 is, of course, diarrhea and constipation, right? This is because low stomach acid can affect the emptying of the stomach contents. Essentially, low stomach acid slows down motility. So you might be someone who struggles, let's say, with constipation, and you're eating prunes, and you're eating figs, and you're taking aloe vera, and you're taking magnesium. Yet what you really need to do is increase your stomach acid, right? That's another way low stomach acid can cause things like diarrhea. And again, brings us back to the major functions of what hydrochloric acid does, right? And again, in a previous video, I said that hydrochloric acid has several functions, right? One of them is being the fact that it sterilizes the contents of the stomach. And again, this is crucial because it prevents this small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It prevents this small intestinal fungal overgrowth, right? So again, those are very typical known symptoms of IBS, that diarrhea and that constipation. So there you go. Those are some of the most common overlooked symptoms of low stomach acid. If you like today's video, make sure you comment below. Tell me one thing you picked up and learned in this video. And also be sure to check out the next video in the series where I'm going to be talking about some of the root causes of low stomach acid. Now remember, it's one thing to treat the symptoms and feel better, but it's a whole nother game knowing what's actually causing the symptoms and correcting the underlying problems. So make sure that you tune in on the next video. I promise you're not going to want to miss it. Take care.